Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a really profound and, let's be honest, a pretty challenging idea. It's all about how we confront the suffering in the world, and maybe more importantly, how we confront the chaos and suffering inside ourselves.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. This is the core rule we're going to be unpacking today. And this image, wow, it just powerfully illustrates this idea of being trapped, not by actual walls, but by your own internal mess, your own disorder. You're looking at the face of a person who has become their own jailer.
To really get this, we have to start in a pretty dark place. We have to look at the ultimate critique of the world. And these aren't just some angry words on a page. This is the justification for mass murder, coming from someone who decided that existence itself was just broken beyond repair. You know, this goes way beyond just being angry or sad. This is a deep, philosophical judgment against reality itself. When someone becomes a critic of being, they've basically concluded that the whole system is rotten and that they have the right, maybe even the duty, to be its executioner.
And this idea, this vengeful, destructive impulse, it's not new. It's ancient. I mean, more than 200 years ago, the writer Goethe just perfectly captured it in the character of the devil, Mephistopheles. His whole essence is being the spirit that says no to life, the spirit that sees destruction as the only logical end for a flawed creation. But here's the thing, right? And this is what's really interesting. This temptation, this destructive thought, it's not just for murderers or some character in an old play. It can surface in any of us. When we face tragedy or injustice or just our own failures, that little dark voice can start whispering, "What kind of horrible, bloody planet is this anyway?" It's a foul thought, for sure, but a very human one.
And don't think this is just a temptation for the weak or uneducated. We're talking about Leo Tolstoy, one of the greatest writers in history, at the absolute peak of his fame and his creative genius. And even he reasoned himself into this black hole of complete despair. He looked at life with pure, cold logic and decided it was all just a sick joke. So he analyzed it and he saw only 4 ways out. He said you could have childlike ignorance or mindless pleasure, but those are just delusional. You could just weakly keep going, but that's just the path of despair. Which left the 4th path, the one he saw as the most honest, the most logical for anyone who truly gets it: suicide. To just end this stupid joke of existence.
And this brings us to the question that just hits you in the gut, doesn't it? If life is so hard, so full of pain and random destruction, isn't being angry the only sane response? I mean, how can you be truly awake to the world's tragedies and not feel this profound sense of outrage?
So right here, this is the crucial point. When we're faced with that outrage, we're at a fork in the road of the soul. There's a fundamental choice to make. Do we aim that energy outward, seeking vengeance on a world we've judged as corrupt? Or do we turn it inward, toward our own transformation? So let's just lay these 2 paths out side by side. The path of vengeance, well, it judges reality, it blames God or fate or other people, and its goal is to punish and destroy. But the path of transformation, that's different. It accepts that life is tragic, and then it looks for your own contribution to the chaos. The goal there is to correct and improve, starting with yourself. This quote from T.S. Eliot just nails the surprising power of that second path. It sounds so weird at first, right? Why would you hope your suffering is your own fault? But think about it for a second. If it's your fault, you have some control, you have agency, you can do something about it. But if it's God's fault or the universe's fault, well, then you're just a victim. You're doomed. Okay, let's make this real. Let's talk about maybe the most powerful example of this choice in all of history, the great Russian writer, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I mean, if anyone had a reason to curse the world, to become a critic of being, it was this guy. His life was made a living hell by the 2 worst tyrants of the 20th century, Stalin and Hitler. He was thrown into a labor camp, beaten, he watched his friends die, and then, on top of all that, he gets cancer. He had every right to just shake his fist at the sky. But he didn't do that. Instead, in the absolute frozen hell of a Soviet gulag, instead of looking outward, he turned his gaze inward. He asked himself this unbelievably difficult and powerful question. He wondered how his own past actions, his own lies, his own failures, had played a part in creating the very world that put him in that camp. And so he started this meticulous, brutal, soul-searching review of his whole life. He took himself apart piece by piece, remembering every lie he'd ever told, every time he'd acted against his own conscience. And he decided right there in the dark to just stop doing anything he knew to be wrong. In the middle of unimaginable suffering, he decided to clean his own house first.
And the results of that one deeply personal internal decision, it was monumental. It was world-changing. He wrote The Gulag Archipelago, a book with such incredible moral force that it just demolished the lies of the entire Soviet system. One man's choice to change his own life instead of cursing the world helps bring down an empire.
So what does all this mean for us, right here, right now? Thankfully, we're not in a gulag, but the principle is exactly the same. So how do we actually apply this idea of fixing our own house first? Well, it all starts with a kind of personal inventory. You start small, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you really taking full advantage of your opportunities? Are you letting bitterness and resentment just poison you? How are you treating the people closest to you, your family, your friends? Are you taking care of yourself? You have to be honest about the things you know right now that you could be doing better. The path forward really boils down to this. It's simple, but man, it is not easy. You don't need some new complex philosophy. You've already got a conscience, that's your guide. And step one is the whole game. Stop doing what you know to be wrong. Just stop. And from there, you can start to say only things that make you feel strong and do only things you could speak about with honor. And that just brings us right back to the core idea. Don't go trying to reorganize the state if you can't even get your own experience in order. Before you try to fix the entire world, how about you fix your own life first? It's about having some humility. Start with the things that are actually in your control. Look, the goal here is not to eliminate suffering. That's impossible. Life is tragic. The goal is to stop adding to it, to stop compounding that necessary tragedy with your own bitterness, your own deceit, your own willful blindness. When you clean up your own mess, all you're left with is the clean, unavoidable pain of just being alive. And what you might find is that you get stronger. A person whose life is in order is just more resilient. You might discover that you are perfectly capable of bearing the necessary tragedies of life. And by doing that, you become a powerful force for peace and for good for everyone around you. And that leaves us with one last big provocative thought. Yes, the world is full of suffering, but how much of that is just the baseline tragedy of existence, and how much of it is the hell that we add to it ourselves? Who knows what kind of heavens we might be able to build right here on Earth if every single one of us chose to set our own house in perfect order first?